Hello, and today we're going to start our first episode in this new series called All About Power. And before we get into today's topic, I really want to set a precedent for really understanding our global energy usage. And did you know that in 2018, the globe used 167,000 terawatt hours of energy? That's equivalent to almost 100 billion barrels of oil. That would require 144 billion solar panels working 12 hours a day. So you'd have 77 billion panels working all the time. And it's actually equivalent to 256 times the amount of power or electricity that our entire country of Canada produced in the year of 2017. That is a lot of power. Now let's also look simply at the amount of power or the amount of electricity that we use as a globe. And that number is actually quite a lot smaller than that. It's actually 23,000 terawatt hours. Now that number is growing quite dramatically, 4% over the previous year. And that's one of the main reasons is because we're seeing a much higher electrical usage. We're seeing electrification of heating and of transportation. So we're seeing that number rise. And we're going to start to see that number rise. Let's look at energy usage over the last few years. Well, as a globe, over the last 30 years, we've seen a 64% increase in energy usage. And we're going to continue to see that rise as countries like China and India continue to increase their energy usage. Let's bring it a little bit closer to home. Let's look at Canada. Canada in the same period of 30 years had an energy growth of 42% over that same period. And the United States had a growth over that period of 18%. So what's the summation here? As a globe, we use a lot of power, and we're going to continue to see that rise, but we're going to see it shifting a little bit from other forms to electricity. And so that's what this whole series is about, is what type of energy are we using, how are we generating that power, and how are we paying for it? So, but before we get into all of that, I really want to set this whole video series up with this concept of energy versus power. This is going to be really foundational. Probably a lot of you understand the difference, but just so that when I talk about energy versus power, we all know what we're talking about. So let's get into this topic of energy versus power. What is energy? Now, you'll see on the screen three different definitions for energy. The quantitative property that must be transferred to an object in order to perform work on or heat that object. The personal favorite I have is an energy is a conserved quantity, and the law of conservation of energy states that energy can be converted, but it cannot be created nor can it be destroyed. I want to emphasize that energy cannot be created nor can it be destroyed, and we're gonna talk to that a lot in the next few videos. Energy comes in many different forms. You'll see gravitational, kinetic, thermal, electrical, chemical, many others out there. And energy is measured in lots of different units. Some of the major units that we see is kilowatt hours. When you look at your utility bill, you see units of kilowatt hours. When you look at your gas bill, here in Alberta, we measure our gas in GJs or gigajoules, which is a form of energy. But then a lot of us, calorie counters. When you drink a Coke, you ingest so many calories. That is a unit of energy as well. And there's lots more that we could talk to, but let's dig into what is power. What is the difference between energy and power? Well, power is the process of converting energy from one form to another within a defined time period. So you can see at the bottom there that power is energy used over a time period. So you see that they're very much related, but they are different. One's a volume, one's a rate of usage. Power is measured in units. The most popular units are kilowatts. The other most popular unit is horsepower. You think of pumps, you think of motors, you think of engines. They're measured in you're measured in the unit of horsepower. You think about generators. A lot of generators are referenced in their kilowatt power output. So here's a great little chart that illustrates the connection between power and energy. Let's say you have a power plant that is producing power, and this is the rate at which it's producing power. So you can see how the power is fluctuating. It's the orange line. And the energy produced is the area underneath that line. So power, instantaneous. Energy is power multiplied by time. So let's go into 3 quick case studies, or quick little examples to maybe solidify this. So your first question is, a factory uses 50 kilowatts during the daytime for 8 hours, and the evening load is about 5 kilowatts, so not much going on in the evening. How much power, or how much energy is that facility using every day? So really simple, it's just it's power times time. And so you have 8 hours multiplied by 50 kilowatts, and you have 16 hours, so the rest of the day, multiplied by 5 kilowatts, and you get a total of 480 kilowatt hours. Pretty simple, hey? The units have just come together. That's where the kilowatt hour unit comes from. Let's go into our next analogy, or our next case study. So the battery storage system, it stores 80 kilowatts. The battery must last for an 8-hour day. What's the maximum average power that that battery can do? I know this is probably pretty simple. You guys know this right off the bat. Energy divided by time. So you have 80 kilowatts divided by 8 hours. The hours and the hours cancel each other out, and you're left with 10 kilowatts is the average power that can be drawn from that battery system. Pretty simple, hey? Third scenario is probably relevant to a lot of us who like coffee and tea. You want to bring to boil 1 liter of water. You're not going to boil it. You're just going to bring it to that 99-degree point. It requires 0.1 kilowatt hour to do that. Your kettle's rated for 1200 watts. How long will it take to bring to boil that 1 liter of water? Well, again, really simple equation. I know most of you guys knew it right off the top of your head. So you just rearrange that equation. You get time equals energy over power. You convert units so that they're the same units. You have 0.1 kilowatts divided by 1.2 kilowatts, which equals 0.083 hours, otherwise known as 5 minutes. So that's the topic of energy versus power. Again, I know a lot of you guys probably were very familiar with that topic, but this is gonna be really foundational for the topics that we go into. My name is Matthew Swinimer with Collicut Energy Services. If you have any other questions, you have any comments to this video, love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out to me via email. Feel free to give me a call or leave me a message here on YouTube or LinkedIn. Love to hear more from you. Take care.